Good morning. Today is Tuesday, the second day of Iyar, Bay's Iyar. This is the birthday of the Rebbe Maharash, the fourth Lubavitch Rebbe. Last night we counted the Omer 17, Tiferes Shebe Tiferes, and one of the mottos that the Rebbe quoted many times from the Rebbe Maharash, Rabbi Shmuel, the fourth Lubavitch Rebbe, is Lechatchile Ariber, which means that the world, he had a saying that the world says you have to try to go under. If you cannot go under, you try to go over. But I say don't bother with trying to go under. To begin with, go over, go big, do things big. You know, last night we had a Farbrengen also from the Lubavitch Youth Organizations, which is an organization that is overseeing all the Chabad houses in the New York area. And this is an organization that the Rebbe himself established on this day, Bay's Iyar, in 1956, if I'm not mistaken. And on this day, the Rebbe established it. He called it Lubavitch Youth Organization, Tzeirei Agudat Chabad, and explaining that in order to do something, you got to stay young. And young is not in the passport. Young is young in heart. And no matter how old you are, you're still young at heart. And at one point, the Rebbe explained what is the difference between a person who is old or young. A person who is old will tell you about the past, will focus on the past. A person who is young will focus on the future. We focus on the future, we focus what do we need to do. Lechatchile ariba, go, move, what is there to do? And that is the Rebbe's attitude. In order to succeed, you got to move forward, you got to look forward. And we got to tie it somehow with the Tanya shir today, right? So what are we learning today? Today we're completing chapter 44 in the Tanya. And here we are talking about the love that we develop to Hashem. And we explained yesterday the different levels of love that elevates us, ourselves, our actions, our Torah, our mitzvahs, higher and higher, connecting to Hashem in a higher way. And the Alter Rebbe explained that in generally speaking, there are two types of love. One type of love that is generated out of contemplation, think meditation in the greatness of Hashem. And then there's the other type of love, it's called Ahava Rabbah, which is a gift from above. It is something that has nothing to do with you, it's something that Hashem gives you. And such a love to Hashem is certainly a much, much greater love because it's not generated by you, it's generated by Hashem. Hashem gave it to you as a gift. And he explained that only people who achieve achieving the level of fear and love of Hashem by working on their own, they can get that gift. However, we also explained that there are two types of meditation that is sort of a hybrid that has both types of love together. And that is when you think about what is my life? Just a person loves your life. When you love your life, when you realize that God is your life, then you say to Hashem, God, I love you. My soul, God, you are my soul, and therefore I desire you. Or even a higher level, when you think that God is my father, just like you love your parents, you want to do everything for your parents. Because deep inside you love your parents, and in fact, people will even risk their own lives to go save the parents. So this is the two types of love we explained, that really it is inherited in everyone. Every person has it naturally, instinctively. We got it from our Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. And that is something that we don't need much meditation. We just think a little about it, and we bring it out to revelation. So today, the Alter Rebbe is going to say that if that is the case, if we can reach the level of what he called Ahava Rabbah, the greater level of love, without much contemplation, just by thinking that this is my life, so of course I want to have a God in my life. So why do we need to work hard in meditating? Because we explained earlier that there is a type of love that is generated by meditation. But meditating how the greatness of Hashem, why do we need that? If we have it naturally, if we have the love of Hashem naturally, so we reach already the greater level of love without much working hard. Why do we need to meditate so deeply? So the Alter Rebbe here is going to explain in today's lesson that there is the type of love that you generate by meditating, even though you don't reach very high, but the nature of that love is much more powerful. And the example we can use is like the difference between love when you love your spouse. You have a feeling of love to your spouse, or the feeling of love to a sibling. When you have a feeling of love to a spouse, it is something that you want to get, especially in the first stages. Think about love when you first meet, and you want to achieve, you want to get a closeness to that person. And that is a love that is a fiery love. There is a fire in there. The love to a sibling or the love to parents is something that's, it's not a fiery love. It's a love, it's something that's in there. It's a quiet love, it's a calm love. So we can use also, it says, in the Holy Temple, when they're bringing one of the offerings, what they did with the offerings, they bring the offering on the altar and they have to bring it and bring it up to Hashem as an offering to God. So it says, one of the miracles there in the Holy Temple was that there was a fire from above. A fire came from heaven and consumed it. But nevertheless, there was a mitzvah to bring your own fire. It was not enough if you have the fire that comes from above. Why not? The fire is there and consumes it. Why do you need to bring your own fire? If you have the miraculous love, which fire is greater? Which fire is holier? Fire that comes from heaven or fire that you bring? Obviously, the fire comes from heaven is much greater. But yet the Torah says, no, I want you to bring your own fire. And the reason is, this is the whole idea. The temple represents our own service. The altar represents our heart, our emotions. The fire that comes from above, from heaven, represents the fire that you have in your heart, deep in your heart. It's a very much greater level of love to Hashem, but it's there and it doesn't have its nature of excitement. But you have to bring your own fire. When you bring your own fire, Alter Rebbe is going to explain the benefits is that it's much more powerful, number one. And number two, this is the ultimate purpose of the creation of the world, why God created us in this first place, as we shall explain. So let's see inside the way the Alter Rebbe explains it, and we'll understand a little better. Says the Alter Rebbe, רק שאף על פי כן צריך לטרוח בשכלו ולהגיע גם לבחינת אהבס אוילם הנזכרס לעיל, הבא מהתבונה ודעת בגדולת Hashem. Nonetheless, although we explained that the two levels of love we can achieve great levels of connection with Hashem, even though we can even reach to the level of what we said, the greatest level of love of Hashem, or what we call it the Ahava Rabbah, the level of love that comes from Atzilus, the higher world. Nevertheless, a person must strain his intellect to apprehend and attain also the above-mentioned level of Ahavat Olam, which stems from an understanding and knowledge of the greatness of Hashem. You have to do this to get the understanding and knowledge in the greatness. Why? כדי להגדיל מדורת אש האהבה ברשפי אש. That is in order to fan the blaze of the fiery love with glowing coals. ושלבס עזה ולהב אוהל השמיימה. And an intense fire and a flame that rises heavenward. To the point that shemayim rabim lo yuchlu v'chulu ne'oris lo yishtafu v'chulu. To the point so that not even many waters, which are the enemies of the love, can extinguish it, nor rivers quench it. This is a verse in the Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs, talks about the Yudkei, that the fire, the flames of the love of the neshama is like the flame of Hashem, and many waters cannot extinguish. So this is when you have this type of love, the love that you have out of contemplation, out of understanding. It is so powerful that nothing else can get in its way. I mean, think about the moment when you first fall in love. You're like, the whole world doesn't exist. Everything is your love. That's all that you focus on. And you love your father, you love your mother, but you can still go on with your life and do other things and love other things as well. But when you're in love with a fiery flame, everything else is not important. Not only that, you even realize how this is something that is most important to you. So that's what it says when you get to the understanding, when you work on meditation, on the greatness of Hashem, how the whole world is nothing. This helps you to develop a feeling of love that no matter what the circumstances are, you're gonna do everything to keep that love going. Continues the Alter Rebbe, כי יש ישרוי נמיילה לבחינס אהבה, כרשפי אש ושלבס עזה וכולו, הבא מהתבונה ודעת בגדולת אין סוף ברוך הוא, על שתי בחינס אהבה נזכרוס לאל, כאשר אינן כרשפי אש ושלבס וכולו. He says there is a superiority and excellence in the quality of love, burning like a fiery coal and an intense flame, which comes from an understanding and knowledge of the greatness and transcendence of the blessed Ein Sof of Hashem over the two categories of love referred to above, when they are not like fiery coals and blaze. We explained that there are two types of love. The love of feeling that God is my life, and the love of feeling that God is my Father. But they are not as intense as a fiery love. And he says that the example, the comparison, is ki yisroi no mailas azov ala kesef v'chulu kemo shizba lekaman. The comparison is similar to the superiority and excellence of gold over silver, and so forth, as will be explained later on. So explain what is the difference between gold and silver. Why do people like gold more than silver. Of course, some people prefer silver, but if you think about gold is more expensive, not just because it's a rare commodity. There's also a value in the nature of the gold. Silver is more of a calm color. The gold has a glare that attracts. So the idea of the gold, it compares to the love that comes with a fire. Silver represents the connection that is more of a calm, like water. So this is the difference between, he says, this type of love, this is a love of gold, which is more, has this passion into it. Continues the Alter Rebbe. So this is one reason that why is this more important? Because it has the power, the energy, the passion, and that is something that you can only have when this love of Hashem comes out of meditation and contemplation in the greatness of God. Then the Alter Rebbe says there is another advantage. The other advantage, says the Alter Rebbe, is that really this, by contemplating in God and developing love from this understanding, this is the purpose of the creation, of why God created us. If you've been listening to classes in Chassidus, you would know the concept of dira b'tachtonim, that Hashem wants to have a home in this low world. This Chassidus talks about a lot, quoting a medrash, that a medrash says that Hashem desired to have a home in this low world. And a home means that the people will feel godliness. And in a way, that's exactly what he's saying here, that a purpose, where does Hashem find the home? He says here, he quotes from the Zohar, he says the purpose is that we should know him. And that's both the same thing, same idea. That we should know God. When you know God, you're creating a home for Hashem in your mind. In the mind that is a human mind, that is so independent, it is the most distant place from God is your mind. Because your mind may take you other places. Naturally, you don't feel one with God. You feel like an independent being. But when you use your mind of thinking about Hashem, understanding the greatness of Hashem, understanding how we are nothing. Well, we are really nothing, non-existent in the presence of Hashem. So when you work on this, and this helps you to develop your feeling of love, that really is the ultimate purpose. Continues the Alter Rebbe, and that is how he concludes this chapter. And it says, "V'gam ki zeh kol ha'adam v'tachlisoi." Besides, this is the whole man, and is raison d'être, the French word, the purpose of creation, the purpose of his existing. And what is it? Leman das es kvoid Hashem v'ikar tiferes gedulosai. That one may know the glory of God and the majestic splendor of his greatness. Ish kefi asher yuchal se'es. And each according to the limits of his capacity. Not everybody is capable of understanding in the same way, but that's okay. Whatever you can understand, use the maximum of your ability. As it is written in Raya Mehemne, that's part of the Zohar, Parshas Bo, begin the ishtamoidun leiv v'chulu v'chaneda. It says, in order that they may know him, and so forth, as is known. And that is, as we said before, the purpose of creation. And this is what the Lechatchila Ariba is. Lechatchila Ariba is to go big, to realize that what we do is not our own. What we do is Hashem. And if we go with the power of Hashem, then there are no limits. So it's going big in every area in life. You go big and you move forward. You look forward, you move forward. You're like a young man, like a young woman, and you you keep going. And again, young is not in the passport, it's in the heart. You keep going in going in understanding and studying more Torah, going in praying, going in mitzvahs, going in being kind to people, being nice to people, helping people, and you focus on the positive. You go l'chatchila riba. You, by thinking of the greatness of Hashem, the purpose of Hashem's creating this world, and how we are nothing, we are here only to serve Hashem. This is the ultimate purpose of creation, and this brings the real, true redemption, the redemption of the coming of Mashiach, because that's what the whole world will see. And that's in our hands, as the Rebbe says, tut alles was can, do everything what you can to bring Mashiach, and let's hope that it will happen very, very soon. And thank you so much for joining today. And we should have all a lechatchila riba de gedei and a lechatchila riba de Iyar. Everything should go lechatchila riba, big and successful.
Thanks so much, Rabbi. Have a great day.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Yes.